What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJBs here. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. So, in the dark age of Vanity's Emptiness and various other common floodgate cards, it's really important for us not only to understand our MST theory, as I explained in the last video, link in the description below, but it's also important for us to plan for our various MST substitutes. There are certain decks for whom there are so many floodgate cards that just having 3 MSTs really isn't enough. And in a format with traps being so abundant, it does make sense for some players to be siding MST substitutes. So the question becomes, what is the best MST substitute? Now, I am going to eliminate Night Beam right off the bat because the only thing Night Beam can do is blindly hit things, and blindly hitting things is bad. That's a thing bad players do. Unless it's a low back row format and you have a very OTK based deck and you know that your opponent's only going to have like 1 or 2 back row, in which case it might make sense to play Night Beam if you're going to play at least multiples of it along with your regular MSTs. But otherwise, I just leave Night Beam out of the question because I think that Night Beam is a terrible card. So the question becomes, do we run Twister or do we run Dust Tornado? And in my opinion, Twister is better than Dust Tornado in every way possible. So let me explain. First off, really important ruling time. Twister does say that it can only destroy face-up spell or trap cards. And the question a lot of players have is, can it then destroy cards that have just been activated? So if your opponent maybe activates a Tanky or something, can you chain Twister? The answer is yes. As long as a card has been activated, while it's still in a chain and hasn't been sent to the graveyard, it still counts as a face-up spell or trap card. So you can chain Twister to the activation of a spell or trap card. So that's really, really important to remember. So here's why I think that Twister is better than Dust Tornado. You have to examine what each card can do that the other can't. What can Dust Tornado do that Twister can't? Well, it can do, I suppose, 3 things. It can hit things that are face down, it can set cards from your hand after you activate them, and it doesn't cost you any life points to activate. Now, the last one is it's totally negligible. In an era when we are willing to drop 4,000 life points for a soul charge play, I don't think people are going to have much of an issue with paying 500 for a Twister to push that soul charge play through. So the life points are totally negligible. And the setting a card from your hand is really only good at all against really bad players. Like, I suppose I guess the logic behind it is that if you have like a wiretap in your hand that you want to be able to use during your turn, but you're afraid your opponent is going to blind space it, you can set the Dust Tornado and then they'll blind space your Dust Tornado and then you'll chain the Dust Tornado, popping one of their cards and setting the wiretap that'll be live next turn. But once again, that theory is really only at all valid against really bad players because only really bad players are going to be blind spacing right off the bat, particularly with back row on their own side of the field. It's just extremely unlikely that that particular effect of Dust Tornado is going to do you any good at all. So far, the life point cost and the setting from the hand is just totally negligible. The last thing that it can do is blind hitting back row, hitting face down back row. And like I said in my last video, there are occasionally times when that's appropriate, but most of the time that's not what you do with MST and MST substitutes. That's not something you want to do. You don't want to hit face down back row because you want to save your MST and MST substitutes for cards that are truly going to hurt your deck. You're only going to be siding like Dust Tornado or Twister if you know that your opponent is going to have enough floodgate cards to make them a threat even with your 3 MST in your deck. So wasting a Dust Tornado on a face down back row really makes no sense at all. So that brings us to Twister itself, the one with 500 life points worth of cost that has to hit face up. It has so many restrictions, but in every way, it is better than Dust Tornado. And when I say that, I basically mean the fact that it is a quick play spell card and not a trap card. First of all, it cannot be wiretapped, and that's a big deal. So barring really extreme situations that you're never going to see in which like your opponent has Invader of Darkness or something on the board, it's less likely to get negated than a Dust Tornado. Also, you can activate it from your hand. which is amazing. It means that the first turn, when you draw that twister, even if your opponent went first, that twister is immediately live. So if you go off for a play, your opponent hits the emptiness button, you can immediately slam down that twister and you can continue your play. With a dust tornado, you have to wait a turn. You basically have to wait until you wait through your opponent's turn, first of all, and then your own turn. So you have basically 2 turns in which you have to wait for the card to be live in order to push through those floodgate cards. And I don't want to wait that long. I want to start making my plays now. So when I get an MST substitute, I want it to be live as soon as I get it. And that is why Twister is better than Dust Tornado in every single way imaginable. I just cannot think of a situation that you are going to see commonly in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In which Dust Tornado is more useful than Twister. I don't understand people who side Dust Tornado. I think that it is a bad card if you are siding MST substitutes. If you have 3 MSTs, if you're siding an MST substitutes, you want Twister, because the only reason why you're going to side in an MST substitute is if you're worried about floodgate cards and continuous spell and trap cards, which are hit by Twister, and Twister does it better. So there you guys go. Never use a Dust Tornado again in your life, because Twister is just better in every way. So now that I've repeated that enough times that you're going to have it stuck in your head for the rest of your life, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you did, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more deck discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, the RJB0. I got a jet. See ya.